Holden Health. Expertise, technology, experience.
Hello, biohackers. David Holden here, biohacking coach, naturopathic physician, and nutritional biochemist. And I have great pleasure in introducing my guest today, Matt Bowden, Managing Director or CEO of XtraLife Health Sciences, who I found out about during the COVID pandemic because of a great product that we want to talk about today called Spike Detox. Matt, welcome to the show. How are you doing, buddy?
Thank you, David. Thank you, everybody. I'm doing very well. Thank you very much.
You're looking it. And tell me, so let's go straight into it because you developed Spike Detox. And what was your whole process behind developing that product? What was your reason for doing it?
Sure. Well, I was actually living overseas at the time when COVID came along. And I have a background, about 20 years of setting up and running a pharmaceutical company. And a lot of that was also in toxicity. When you create a new medicine or a new compound, what are the tests you need to do to find out if it's safe enough? And when COVID came out, I read everything that I could about the virus and about the spike protein and also about the sorts of medicines that they were wanting to use, the injections. And I had a few concerns and realized that what New Zealand really probably needed was a safer, natural option for those people that, you know, for religious, cultural, or other intelligence reasons don't want to use RNA drugs.
Yeah.
And so that was really what drove me. And then particularly when there's a lot of pressure, we came back to New Zealand, there's a pressure on my children, teenagers, to use the RNA drugs, the vaccines. I was concerned then that they might need to something to clean their bodies out afterwards or something to protect them. And that would be a good idea to sort of develop into a product that everybody else could use as well.
Great. Okay. Well, great reasons. And, you know, I'm probably your biggest user of Spike Detox. I've recommended it to hundreds of patients over the years I've known about the product, and it's certainly very effective. As for those in the audience that are new to me in this channel, basically, I've been using a live blood analysis or dark field microscopy for over 40 years. I was a trained medical scientist before I became a naturopathic physician. And so I look at everyone's blood multiple times over a course of consultations. And I was seeing pretty dramatic changes with your product in the early days, particularly. And of course, the whole issue of contamination from the vaccines has developed over the years. We've got a lot more information. Now, even the mainstream is recognizing there's a problem with these vaccines. And so I was obviously very concerned with the same reasons you were, Matt. I had a son who got multiply jabbed. So the Spike Detox certainly works well. I'd urge you all to have a look at Matt's company website, XtraLife.co.nz. Extra spell XTRA life.co.nz. There's a very good section there on Spike Detox. Click on the how does it work, and that's a great 4.5 minute video, very succinct, that Matt did many years ago, which really gets the message across of how Spike Detox works. Matt, could you just briefly go through the key points in that video? Because, you know, you did that 5 years ago now, and it stood the test of time. And in fact, in those days, we thought that the spike proteins were going to remain active in the body for weeks or months. Now we know it's years, most likely decades. And many people have asked me, do I need to keep taking this? And so let's talk about that.
Okay, thank you, David. Let's talk just briefly about the mechanism of this product. Now, is the product something which will cure a disease? We have to say it's not designed to cure a disease. Your body is going to get rid of the spike proteins. Your body is well equipped to do this, and it's going to do the work, and it's going to make you feel better. But your body needs some tools. And so these are the tools to support your body in its natural process of getting rid of spike proteins. How does it do it? There's two mechanisms. One is to dissolve spike proteins, and the second is to protect. And there are two molecules in there which dissolve and two that protect. Some researchers in New South Wales who were playing around with SARS-CoV-2 virus in petri dishes found that there's a combination. If they put N-acetylcysteine and bromelain together on the SARS-CoV-2 virus, it broke apart the spike proteins and the linkages between them. And so we knew that for those people who, for whatever reason, don't have the enzymes in their body to break down spike proteins, bromelain and NAC together will break them apart. They were also using that on different forms of cancer. So we knew that was going to be a strong contender. Now, the next thing is, how can we stop or protect our cells of our body from the spikes getting in there and opening the door to let the virus in or to do the damage? The outside of your cells are a little bit like a whole bunch of keyholes that are different shapes, and a molecule that's the right shape will fit into that keyhole and switch something on or off. The spike protein, unfortunately, is exactly the same sort of shape as angiotensin, a messenger from the body, the brain to the heart, talking about blood pressure. And so it fits in that keyhole and clicks it and changes things in your body and your blood. What we wanted to do is find something that would get into that keyhole first and plug it. Just like when you've got some children or you've got babies coming to your house, and so you want to plug up all of the plug holes with a 3-pronged plastic thing that blocks it. We want something to block. And so supercomputers, at the start of the pandemic, scientists asked, what are some natural molecules that will fit in there? And they recommended quercetin and thymoquinone from black cumin seed. So those two molecules were thought theoretically to be able to sit in there first and to stop virus getting in. And so if you are perhaps going to a place where somebody's sick or somebody's been recently, a lot of people injected who might be shedding spike proteins, the idea is to support your body to plug those gaps and stop anything getting into the cells. That's the mechanism of the supplement.
Yeah, very well said. That's very simple and straightforward. And that's what we found in practice. Most patients that I've put on this product, and there would be well over 250 now, easily, probably close to 300, most of them have said within 2 weeks they felt a difference. And their blood, I see them monthly and have a look at their blood afterwards, and the differences are quite stark. So it's a really, really useful product. Now, I do need to mention to patients that the whole COVID pandemic is an evolving issue. The immune system has become permanently modified. If you've had more than 2 COVID-19 injections, particularly Pfizer, then your genome seems to be permanently altered. We don't yet have the tech to get rid of that mRNA contamination, but I'm sure there will be technologies that will come out, especially with AI, to do just that, to get rid of this synthetic RNA that snips our DNA and inserts in a different sequence that was never there in the first place. It's not natural. So the body keeps producing these spikes. And this is what I'm finding. Patients that, particularly those that had more than 2 jabs, the mechanism seems to be self-fulfilling, and it keeps on producing spikes all the time. And with the kinesiology testing I'm doing with patients, I'm finding that at least 1 in 2 is needing to do 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off, 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off spike detox to get rid of the buildup and keep the levels of spike protein in the blood down, but we can't stop it. Now, one of the key things that I'm recommending everyone now take, if they seem to get one of 2 reactions, the big reactions with the COVID-19 injections, microclots, which are a serious issue. And many of you have heard of Dr. Peter McCulloch, who's produced his own version of Spike Detox, though unfortunately it's hideously expensive in New Zealand. Very good, but hideously expensive. And he was the doctor that really championed nattokinase as being absolutely essential with a Spike Detox product. He's incorporated them together. I like to give people high doses of nattokinase, particularly those over 60 who've got a family history of cardiovascular disease, stroke or heart attack particularly. And those people have an APOE genotype that expresses fully and definitely causes problems with cardiovascular disease. So those people are more prone to microclots, and they appear to be between 25 to 33% of the New Zealand population from the statistics I've seen so far from MedSafe. So that's one of the issues. The other big one, which we won't talk about today, but is turbo cancers, and I'll do a separate talk on that. But the the key thing I want to get across here to people is, even if you've done nothing in 5 or 6 years and you have multiple jabs, you can still do something now to get your levels of spikes down in the bloodstream, reducing inflammation, reducing CRP or C-reactive protein, which is a test that doctors and naturopaths do to assess how bad inflammation is in the body. And the beauty of live blood analysis is we can see inflammation very clearly on the 4K screen. So people get a very good visual of what's going on in their blood. And it's very empowering actually for people to see their own blood on the screen, take a protocol, come back and see the difference. It's quite marked. And I get people to bring their cell phones in so they can snap video footage of it. So anything you want to add to that, Matt?
Yeah, I would just say that the thing with viruses is that your body knows how to deal with viruses. It just needs those right tools.
Yeah.
And so it was clear to us that the quercetin, particularly, and the NAC, bromelain, and thymoquinone, they're not just going to support you against SARS-CoV-2. We find that for a lot of coughs and colds and similar viruses, exactly the same mechanisms apply. These things just rip them apart. They protect your body. And so if you start feeling something coming on, these are the kind of compounds that you need. I hope you buy our one, but you can do your own research and have a look, and you see these are the ingredients which scientifically will come up as being the best bet for fighting these sorts of things. The other thing I would say, nattokinase is really important. When you've got clots, it's when the blood cells, they form together in a block and they get a coating around them, which is called fibrin. And to break that down, you need fibrinolytics. And just the same as if you have after work office drinks and everyone has 2 drinks on a Friday at work, you'll notice that the people in the office who perhaps their DNA and heritage comes from places like China, they go bright red and flush and they don't want to drink more alcohol. It's because they don't have the enzyme dehydrogenase for breaking down alcohol. And it's exactly the same thing with these spike proteins. Some people have got the enzyme for breaking it down and some don't. So some people, they take a couple of shots and say, what are you talking about? I had my injections and I'm fine. I've had COVID, nothing happened to me. Someone else down the road, it's like, well, I can't walk anymore. And that's what it is. Not everyone's got the same setup for breaking things down, so you need those extra compounds. And the other thing I'd say is that one thing we've carried on with the science, and my heart is to make products available to support those members of the community who are choosing to exercise their right to use natural medicine and not to just take whatever new things come out of the pharmaceutical industry. And so we carried on the research, and we found ways to change the NAC and the quercetin to make them up to 10 or 20 times as effective. And so towards the end of the year, you'll see a Spike Detox Plus coming from us, which is going to be far more effective. Instead of taking the 3 pills, you just need to take 1. Maybe we could talk about the dosage of Spike Detox and how to use it.
Please do. Before we do that, I want to talk about this product here, which is what I'm using to help patients get rid of clots, along with nattokinase. This is Plasma Flow by Cerule. I did a talk, if you have a look in our catalog, with Linda Hoggard last week, and we talked about some of the Cerule products and how they work. So this is fibrinolytic, and it really helps break down the plasmin that Matt was talking about. So yeah, this is a key one. There's other ones as well, but I test people on them if they come and see me to find out which ones they need after I've taken a family history to make sure they don't have high risk. And we can get genetic testing done if we suspect there is a risk to find out. So yeah, let's talk about dosage. What I'm usually giving people, Matt, is I'm starting them off on 2 capsules a day, 1 in the morning as soon as they get up, 1 in the evening before they go to bed, for a couple of days, just to get the body used to it, particularly if their liver's a bit toxic and they've never done a detox before. Then I bump it up to 2 capsules morning and night. Some cases, after they've been on that for about 3 or 4, maybe 5 days, I can even increase that further, depending on what they test on. That's my protocol. What's your thoughts, Matt?
I would say that's a really good protocol to start with. Thumbs up. I would say that anything new that you're putting into your body, just take the smallest amount possible, because for people that are allergic to pineapple, the bromelain is actually, when you get a really tough steak and you can't serve it up to your family yet, and so if you're a meat eater, and so you put it in pineapple overnight and it softens it. That's because pineapple's got bromelain. Bromelain breaks down glycoproteins. Glycoproteins are what makes steaks tough. Glycoprotein is what the spike protein is. That's why we use the bromelain out of pineapple to break it down, rip it apart like a tough old steak. You might be allergic to bromelain or pineapples. So anything like this, just take 1, the smallest amount possible, and see if you've got an allergy, if you're that 1 in a million. If not, then I would take another one at the end of the day, then I'd take 2 a day for the next day, then up to 3 a day three caps morning, three caps night for 3 or 4 days to give it a good blast, and then slow back down to 2 and then 1, then 0. The reason why we go gradual on and gradual off is because some people, just a few people, if they increase or decrease the dose of NAC too quickly, they get asthma-like symptoms,
Yes, they
which
do.
are not, it's not going to kill them, but it's extremely uncomfortable and scary. And so with anything with NAC, if you're a bit prone to wheeziness, just have 1 and then 2 the next day, then 3 for a while, and then 2 and then 1. We call that tapering on and tapering off. And that just gives your body a nice, gentle, easy ride. And I use it episodically. Like if I'm going out on a cold day like we've had lately, I put on extra layers of merino under my clothes. And the same as if I'm going to somebody's house who I know, we've all got a bit of a flu at the moment, Matt, but come around for dinner. I'm going to need some extra layers of protection. I'll take maybe 2 or 3 Spike Detox before I go. I'll take a couple when I get back so that people can cough and sneeze all over the food, and I'll just keep eating because I know that I've got layers of protection around my cells and I'm not going to get sick.
Great.
So that's how I use it.
That's very smart. There's one last thing I'd like to raise is the issue of shedding. Now, most people are aware of shedding. They've heard about it. For those of you that haven't, shedding is when someone has had a recent infection of COVID, or they've had a recent vaccination with the COVID-19 vaccine, and they shed spikes in their breath, in their urine, and all their body fluids and sexual contact. Anywhere you can get exposed to aerosols from that body has the potential to carry spikes of spike protein into your body if you breathe it in or you're exposed to it. So often I see patients who didn't get jabbed and they're stunned at what's in their blood. And I said, well, you've obviously been exposed to shedding. Now, one of the leading causes of shedding now that we're post-pandemic, our pandemic is Freudian slip, is planes. Whenever you fly on mass public transport and you're in that transport for some time, like a plane, in my opinion, you need to be wearing an N95 mask to protect yourself. I won't fly without it. And I had a classic example of this with 5 different sets of patients earlier this year that were all flew to Europe for holidays and came back. 3 of them didn't wear masks. 2 of them did. The ones that didn't, 2 of them got really, really sick after the plane, and we looked at their blood and it was full of spikes and hydrogels and nanotech, all the stuff you get from shedding. There's multiple things, not just spikes. The 2 that wore masks, their blood was really clean, really good. And I told them all to be taking vitamin C, nattokinase, Spike Detox. When they come back, do a detox. And, it's pretty clear that it's quite stark, the difference between those that take protection, wear a proper, well-fitting N95 mask. So that's really, really important and a useful tip for people. Any last comments you want to add, Matt, before we wrap this up?
I agree with that. I think a lot of people are scared when they travel, and the fear is a base of disease in itself. But a lot of the fear, they'll run out and get a whole lot of injections and then jump on a plane. We found that people encounter spike proteins from 3 different places: from infections, from injections, or from personal connections. A lot of massage therapists that are touching people all the time, they would start getting this rash and stuff because people have been injected. And we were told, shedding doesn't happen. But from 20 years of drug design experience, the reason why we haven't used the RNA drugs before is that they can never make it through the safety testing. And also when you give it to one animal, it tends to spread to the other animals. And so it is a known issue with RNA type drugs. Yeah, exactly.
They're fraught with problems, and more and more truth about this is going to come out. Anyway, that's all we want to say today about Spike Detox. Have a look at Matt's website. If you do want to buy some Spike Detox, if you use the HHC discount code, you'll get a discount off your purchase, and you can use that every time you buy on that site.
Okay, I just want to explain how the subscriptions work. My philosophy is that I would like to treat my customers in the same way that I'd like to be treated. And so here's how it works. The reality is you're going to want to keep taking it once you see how it works and how it changes the way that you feel. So what we do is we have an auto ship program. And I know that can be scary for people because it means, what am I committing to? If you choose a subscription, then we'll take your card and we'll send you the product every month and we'll charge the card. You're going to get a much better price. But here's what I'm doing differently. If at any point you decide you want to stop, or you feel like you don't have the money this month or something, just go online and cancel it before we send it out. And there's going to be no penalty fees. You can just freeze it, put it on hold permanently. I don't care. We're doing this to try to help people to feel better. This is not really a big profit exercise. Freeze it, and then when you come back, just unfreeze it, and it'll come back on. So that's the way that all of our subscriptions work. You can subscribe to Rewind. You can subscribe to Spike Detox. You will get a better price. Just keep it going. And if you decide that you want to stop, then let us know before we send it out, please. Otherwise, it costs us something to get it back and so on. Is that okay? That's the way I like to do business.
Thanks very much, Matt. Great to see you again, and we'll talk about Rewind very soon.
Thank you, David. Thank you, everybody.